And welcome to the castle, everybody. This is Nightsaber Z42, and today I have a new Roll20 tutorial. This is going to be on making your own tokens and how to go about that whole process. And so the first thing I'm going to tell you is this is going to be about Photoshop. So if you have Photoshop, any of the forms of Photoshop, whether it's Essential, CC, or the subscription-based one, this will work for pretty much all of those. And the next thing I'm going to tell you is that there's going to be two other videos on creating your tokens. One will be for GIMP, the new image manipulation program. The other one is going to be on a website that you can just put your pictures in, and it's like super simple and easy. I chose Photoshop for this specific episode to do first because I'm actually very much familiar with Photoshop and I can create my own tokens on that. Pretty much like all of these. These are some of the tokens in Humblewood that I've created myself using a template border. So usually what I do, I've definitely mentioned Qualon on my channel before, over on the SWRPG subreddit, and this person's basically made tokens for Star Wars. And the cool thing is, in the pack that you can download is the template for the Photoshop. And so the first way I'm going to show you is how to use that template. So if I go up over here, and actually I wonder if it's been opened recently. There it is, token template. This is what it's going to look like. You're going to see a little Jawa picture and all of that stuff right here in the very center. And so looking at this template, you're going to have your layers, and the outlines are going to be these different colored borders, which are very, very cool. My only issue is that the colors are like kind of similar to each other. I mean, you got your reds and your blues and your greens, and other than that, they're fairly similar to each other. And so there's not really a whole lot of options. So what I do, I have this nice little Jawa picture, and I've chosen my border color. Let's say I want to do something like maybe this greenish color. And as you can see, there's a outline that's going to serve as the black border, and then there's the actual outline on the inside that serves as the color. So you could basically differentiate your enemies and your allies and whatnot, and your NPCs. Then there is the actual picture with a layer mask, and what the layer mask does is it basically makes everything that's in the black picture right here invisible or transparent, as we should say. And so in order to put a picture of your own up here, it's actually really simple. I'm just gonna go to file, place linked, and let's see, my bro Killgroup needs a new token, and then we can just manipulate the picture however we want. That looks, I want his smug little grin in there. There we go. And maybe that little ear too. Maybe something like, yeah, something like that. Okay, click the check mark, and so now I see this picture all up around, and we want just a circle. So what I'm going to do is take this layer mask, I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to drag it over to Kleegroot right here, and boom, this layer mask is now applied to Kleegroot's picture, and is now a token. Don't worry about these grid lines, they will not show up on the token itself. This is just as a guide to help you basically manipulate the image however you want it. So now that we have our border, our picture, and whatnot in there, just go to File, we're gonna save as, and you're gonna save as a PNG, that way the transparency can the transparency will actually show up in Roll20. So now that I got that created, let me go back to my Roll20, and we're going to find that Klieg root number 2. There it is. Klieg root number 2. And we'll just go ahead and drag it over. And let me make them bigger so we can actually see. There we go. Now we got ourselves a transparent token with our homeboy Klieg root. And there you go. It's super duper simple and super duper easy. I would definitely recommend doing that if you're a newbie, but let's say that you're not new and that you want to actually do your own tokens yourself so you have more control over the colors and whatnot. So the first thing you're going to do, you're going to create a new image or a new file. And the squares in Roll20, if you're using the grid lines or the grids in Roll20, they are 70 pixels by 70 pixels. And so you're going to want something a little bit higher quality. So recommended is 140 by 140 pixels at a resolution of 72 pixels. Make sure that the background is transparent. Sorry, I said that super duper fast, so let me go over it again. In Roll20, the squares on the grid are by default 70 pixels by 70 pixels. So you want basically like a high resolution, you want a high resolution token. So you're going to double the 70, so it becomes 140 by 140 pixels. The resolution should be at default 72 pixels per inch. And you need to have the background contents as transparent. If it's white, then you're going to have to basically delete that layer to make it all transparent, and we don't want to go through that hassle. So 140 by 140, 72, and transparent. Just remember that and click OK. We're going to go ahead and zoom in by quite a bit. And I like to have these grid lines here. It really does help. So if you go to Edit and Preferences, and go to Guidelines, Grid, and Slices. We're basically looking at grid here. You can have it set to any color, but it needs to be at lines so that you can actually see, and the grid line should be every 70 pixels and subdivision of 1. If you zoom in enough, then your ruler will actually change the scale. So we want it in far enough that we can see 0, 10, 20, 30. Something along those lines. Okay. So now that we got that, we are going to go ahead and create a shape and fill it in with a color. So looking over at my different tools, underneath this cursor symbol is the shape tool. And so we're going to make sure that we have ellipse set. And up here we can set its fill. Let's get a nice yellow color that it's nice and bright just so we can see. And we're going to just drag it. Make sure that we hold shift down so that it is perfectly 140 by 140 basically. And now it's going to go ahead and create that shape. Let me get rid of that. So now that we have our yellow shape, we need to go ahead and put some grid lines in to kind of guide us into making another shape for our inside circle. And so we're going to go ahead and put it at 15 pixels all the way around. So all you have to do is just go to the ruler, drag it out, and then just make sure that it's 15 by 15 by 15 all the way around. So let me just go ahead and and here's the thing. When you get to the 15 here, it needs to be 125 for the bottom line. There we go. So you got 15 on top, 15 on the left, 125 on the bottom, which means we need 125 on the right. Boom! Got it on my first try. So with these lines set, it makes it much easier for us to draw a inner circle that's perfectly symmetrical. And so let's go ahead and create a new layer. And actually, it's always good practice to label your layers. So I know that this is going to be the border. So this is going to be, well, I guess I should specify outer border. Technically, that's what a border is anyways, but this one's going to be our inner. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and put inner. So let's go ahead and select our shape tool. Let's go ahead and change the color so it's not the exact same color. Let's choose white and start on one corner of your grid lines. Hold shift and just make sure that it's touching the your rulers. And boom, now we got ourselves a nice inner circle. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and put a picture. And we're going to basically make sure that the picture is kind of in line with this nice blue border. So I'm going to File, Place Linked, and let's find my homeboy Klee Group. Oh yeah, look at that smug face. And we're going to make sure that the area that we want is within that blue grid line. Actually, let me zoom out so I can see a little bit better. Whenever you are manipulating the image, make sure that you hold shift down to keep its ratio. And I think that's gonna look okay. Let me move him just. Let me check the opacity. It's not gonna be perfect, but I think we'll do it that way. All right. Okay. Whoops. I don't want to create another ellipse. So just the same sort of idea on the token template. We have a picture that's outside of our little ring here, our border. So once we have created or placed the image, we've created our inner circle and the outer border, we're going to go ahead and click on the inner circle. We're going to click on the image, control and click so we can get this nice circle. This is the, basically it's the marquee tool, but we're actually getting it specifically in line with this inner circle shape, which we absolutely need because we're going to create a layer mask, which is this button next to the FX. It says add a layer mask. So once we go ahead and click that, we get this nice layer mask next to the our inner circle. And there in between the pictures is a link, a chain link. We're going to click on the chain link to get rid of it. And basically what this does, it makes it so that the if we try to move the picture around, it's basically going to move the layer as well, and we want them to be independent. So when we move the image, it doesn't move the layer mask. So all we got to do is just go ahead and move the layer mask up to the picture, and it's as simple as that. So now that we got our outer border all fixed up, let's go ahead and add something new. Something to make it pop out a little bit, because there's a big difference between this token and our token, and it's not the image or the color, it's the quality. So in order to do this, we're going to add what's called a bevel and emboss, like a boss. Exactly. And so let me go ahead and get rid of this. Oh, it's not even showing. Okay, cool. And so what we're going to do in order to make this work, we're going to go ahead and select the inner, and we're going to go ahead and control and click on the inside to make this, to select the inner ring. And what we're going to do next, let's go ahead and click the marquee tool, and inside of our image we'll right click and then select inverse to select everything else. Click on your outer border, and now we're going to go ahead and create a new layer mask. All right, so with our layer mask, let's go ahead and undo that. We're going to double click on the blue area and click on bevel and emboss, and you can definitely play around with some of the settings, but as you can see, it now has a shadow on the inside and the outside, and it's looking like it gives it a lot more depth. And honestly, with this color, it kind of looks like a Sonic ring. And so you can play around with the different bevels. By default, it's going to be on inner bevel, and look at that. That actually looks pretty interesting. That one does not. So you can play around with that on your own. I'm going to leave it on its default there. And so we got ourselves a nice ring. So if I zoom in close enough, there's a little bit of a problem with our image. And since we added some depth to our outer ring, the image on the inside is now, you can definitely see there's some pixelation, some anti-aliasing rather. And so in order to get rid of that, let's see if I remember. Select inner ring, control and select, and go ahead and click on the layer mask associated with your image. And go to layer. Oh no, sorry, my bad. It's select, modify, expand, and we'll expand by 2 pixels, that's fine. And now that we've gone ahead and done that, we do need to go ahead and delete that layer mask, and we're going to apply a new layer mask. And that new layer mask will actually be the correct size. It expanded it by 2 pixels. And so there is that. I realized I was moving the wrong thing. There we go. I'd rather have it like that. Okay. Everything is looking pretty good. If you wanted to also add some sort of a shadow on the inside of your image, you could go ahead and click on inner shadow, and it'll give like a little bit of depth, but I don't think it does it all the way around. If you wanted to change the color, by the way, of your outer ring, double click, and then you can just change the color. Maybe not to a poopy brown color. So there's also that. And in addition to doing that, if you click on your shape and click on the properties for that, you can actually change the fill to a gradient, and you can choose whichever gradient you want. You can even change the colors of the gradient by clicking on that, and you can change your colors that way. So maybe I want it to be like a nice bright green, something like that. Oh, wrong one. Never mind. So yeah, you can definitely experiment with all sorts of different tokens. And the last thing I will do, let's say that I want to add a new picture in. Like I got my default picture, and I want to substitute let's say that this is going to be a template. So all I would have to do is go to place linked, drag another image, line it up with your circles, and then we're going to basically just move the layer mask to the new image. And there you go. Now I got another awesome template that I can use, that I can actually change the color for. So there's are two different ways to basically create your own tokens within Photoshop. One is using a template, and the other one is creating one yourself. And all you would do is go ahead, save as a PNG, and then just save it, and then you can import it into Roll20, and you would be good to go from there. So thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Check the description for my Facebook and Twitter information. While you're at it, give this video a huge thumbs up to support this series, and I will see you guys in the next video.